r/AskReddit by Reddit. What was a normal part of your life growing up that other people were shocked by? Whenever my friends would come over, I would tell them about the rules you had to follow when talking to my dad. This would include, agree with everything he says, don't speak unless asked a question, always try and answer, don't say I don't know, don't cry when he has a go at you, etc. Took a few friends meeting my dad then refusing to come round again, being picked up early because they were upset, to realize that most kids don't live in constant fear of a parent and don't have a set rules in order to keep said parent calm and happy. This was basically my childhood, except that the rules only applied to family members. He was extremely jovial with outsiders and family friends and always pretending that he is coolest guy ever. He is still doing it. If something went wrong during visits, he waited till visitors left and only then yelled and stuff. No one had never known in what terrible environment I had to live, and if I told them they didn't believe, because what do you mean? Your dad is cool and he cares for you, don't you see? Look how nice your house is, etc. I hated how distant I felt to my friends because they liked him and didn't believe me. We always argued, he yelled, and at the end of the day he had to be the one who was true. Yeah, my dad is top manipulator with years of practice. Kneeling on rice as a punishment for just about anything. Mom would throw a few handfuls of rice in a corner and you had to kneel on it for 20 minutes to an hour, hands behind your back, and don't you dare try to lean on that wall or you'd get smacked in the back of the head and into the wall and your time would start over. Afterwards you'd have to clean it up, including any blood from broken skin, and then often you'd have to help make dinner or do whatever chore as if nothing happened. OMG, I'm so sorry, that is awful. One time I made a new friend from middle school and invited him over. We just had a normal evening of pizza and video games and watching terrible early internet flash movies. My parents would check up on us, but just let us be, and watched TV in the living room by themselves quietly. As the evening went on, he got kinda weird and withdrawn, and then took me aside to ask if me and my family were a bunch of duck-in Bible thumpers, to which I incredulously replied no to. He basically explained that the lack of skin flicks lying around, loud arguments, strange people coming over, and holes punched in the walls was extremely off-putting to him. To him, that sort of constant instability and chaos was completely normal and something that regular average people did, and my quiet boring home life was a total outlier. It was kinda hard for us to be friends after that, and we drifted apart really fast. I hope he's doing alright. I grew up in this rickety old farmhouse in the middle of Minnesota. It was really cold a lot of the year, and our upstairs didn't have insulation, so we didn't have any heat upstairs. We'd sleep with an electric blanket and loads of other blankets heaped on top. When I woke up in the mornings, there would sometimes be frost on my walls because it was so cold and the windows didn't keep the cold out very well. It would also sometimes get to -50 degrees Fahrenheit, and then school would automatically be cancelled because kids couldn't wait outside at the bus stop. And sometimes mom would take us outside to blow bubbles on really cold days. The bubbles would freeze in midair and fall to the ground and shatter. My friend/boyfriend were all shocked by this stuff. Doesn't get anywhere near as cold where we live now. The amount of trips to the liquor store. When I was young, nearly every time I got in the car with my mom or dad, the story was the same. We are going to stop at the liquor store, then home. Sometimes when I'd switch parents, they were divorced, I'd stop at the liquor store twice, once each way. One day I was at a sleepover at a friend's house whose parents weren't extreme alcoholics. We ran errands on 3 or 4 separate times and didn't stop at the liquor store. 8-year-old me was so confused. On the final trip I poked my head up between the front seats and, trying to be helpful and remind them, said, "Aren't we going to stop at the liquor store?" And the parents looked at me like I had 2 heads. No. I was so confused I just got out of the van and went inside. Edit. Neat. Silver. Thanks. My first ever Reddit award. The total lack of love. My brother and sister have always had a good relationship with my parents, but for reasons I don't understand, my parents wished I didn't exist. I was an inconvenience at best. I once broke my ribs falling out of a tree. They made me wait 3 days until they had spare time to take me to hospital. Beatings were frequent. Beatings for any perceived mistake. Beatings for being bullied at school. The beatings I was told were to toughen me up. Beatings for crying while being beaten. I eventually figured out that the beatings, name calling and abuse all came from the same root cause, using up my parents' time and effort when they could have been spending it with my siblings or each other. So I tried to become invisible. I learned to move around the house silently, which floorboards squeaked, how to open and close doors without sound, how to control my breathing to be absolutely quiet. I set up a chair and books in my closet so I could be in there unseen for hours. It was only when I left home that I found out other children enjoyed spending time with their parents, that they talked to them, had fun with them, and were supported and cared for by them. I can't imagine how good that must feel. Even to have memories of cuddling on a sofa with a parent or going to the park must be amazing. As an Asian kid, I grew up being disciplined physically. Got the belt, the hand, the slipper, wooden spoon, you name it. This had happened to me so much as a kid I literally thought this was normal and that all families did this. I remember being in 8th grade and having a conversation with my friends, and we were talking about our parents, and I nonchalantly was like, oh yeah, my mom hits me all the time. She always slaps me in the face. I'm used to it, because I genuinely and truly thought this was normal. I didn't realize how ducked up it was until my teacher brought me into the hallway to ask if my home life was okay and explained to me his duty to report thing. He asked if I wanted him to call. Obviously I said no, but I remember going forward, this teacher used to walk on eggshells when it came to giving me bad comments or speaking with my parents during parent-teacher interviews because he didn't want me to get in trouble. While your parents seem more excessive in their discipline, I have to give this teacher props for looking out for you. Getting beaten for dying or going the wrong way in video games. My biological father was abusive and bipolar as hell. I would even get beat if I didn't play Super Mario 64 correctly. It made me aggressively competitive in video games, and people don't always understand why I don't like being wrong about anything. It's not that I always think I'm right, but I had to make sure I didn't leave any loopholes in conversational things that I was assigned to do, or there goes another punch, kick, or throw. So when people hung around me growing up, it wasn't seen as normal to be so meticulous and accurate about everything I do. I don't have OCD, I just don't like ducking anything up if I can help it. Duck that butthole. I used to think I had good times with him at times, but I wonder if that's just because I was afraid to duck up around him, so I did nothing as a result. I low-key grew up in a cult. It wasn't ridiculously intense, no terrible brainwashing or abuse, but the seclusion made for a bizarre childhood. I went to an elementary school in the basement of our church. At the largest, there were 15 students. The smallest I remember it being was 5. We were there for the week in school, then back again on the Sabbath, Saturday, for service. I didn't have any friends outside of the church, and inside the church it was only my classmates that were even close. It made for a real shit 8th grade when my school shut down, and I was moved to public school. For the last year of middle school, the church had a lot of weird rules about things. They believed that the Sabbath started late on Friday and went until midnight Saturday, and therefore we couldn't go to school or work on Friday. I thought Friday was part of the weekend until I was 9. They followed a flexitarian diet, fish and poultry as the only animals we could eat. Anything with a cloven hoof or crawled along the ocean floor was dirty and forbidden. To this day I haven't eaten any red meat. I never really developed a taste for it, and it's fun to pull out. Never ever have I ever eaten bacon at parties. No dancing, no singing, no fun. I didn't have any knowledge of pop culture or even music that wasn't choir or piano. You wouldn't really know it to meet me now. I'm fairly well adjusted, decently functional human considering the isolated mess I started as, which is nice. Child neglect. My house was filthy, and I mean really filthy. Black mold covering the 2 different corners of a finished basement. Trash all over the floors. Never clean clothes because the washer and dryer were broken. Dinner once or twice a week with no food in the house. Whenever I'd go over a friend's house I'd notice, wow, it's so clean in here. Everything smells so nice. Look at all those snacks in the cupboard. That was my mother's house. Thank God she lost custody and I'm now with my outstanding dad. Thank you for watching Reddit. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more r/AskReddit videos. Share your stories in the comment section below.